Hey there guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Cerise Fairfax and today I have a doozy of a story for you for relationship tactics. Let's talk about that now. This Too Shall podcast. All right, so relationship tactics. This is a podcast where, the soul coach comes out of me. I talk to you guys about relationship tactics because not every relationship is easy to deal with. Let's admit that. But let's break down this little bit of information. Let's take a story time / tactics, how you can deal with this if this happens to you or a certain situation like this. Okay, so I live in the Dominican Republic and I live in a town where many men come here to pay to play, if you get what I'm talking about. So there's a lot of women, grown folk, they do what they want with their body and the men come here to enjoy and have fun. Well, there was a couple, they were in Canada and they decided that they weren't living their best lives. And they used to love coming to the Dominican Republic on retreats and, like resorts and stuff of that nature. And they decided to come here and live full term like myself and many other people that come here. So they sold their home, they packed everything up, and they decided that they were going to take their store that they had in Toronto and move it online, and then move certain shipments wholesale and just sell to different beauty salons here. So they sell things like wigs and, like you can get hair even like my hair. They sell hair dyes, they sell false nails, and they sell them all wholesale at really great prices. They've been doing this for many, many years. So, like, the wife, she's never really had a reason to be jealous of her husband at all. He used to have a wandering eye back in the day, she's a white woman from Toronto, and he's from Jamaica, and she brought him from Jamaica, and she took him to Toronto. So she always knew that, he was always had a wandering eye because he's a little bit younger than her, and her family always told her be careful of him because, you see, they always told her that he was going to leave her and use her, and that just wasn't so. Yes, he did have a wandering eye, but she never ever had a reason to think that he was cheating on her. Okay, there's a lot of guys that flirt, but it doesn't mean that they're going to take it overboard, it doesn't mean that at all. So now she never ever would check his phone. She had the code to his phone. He had the code to hers, and he would never ever stay out late at night or anything of that nature. Now, moving here to the Dominican Republic was a big thing for them because after they started to come here a lot on vacation, he just never really wanted to go back to Jamaica too much. Like, every single time they would go back to Jamaica, he was always expected to take a barrel with him, and it was never like vacation. He always had to spend extra double money when he was in Jamaica, so he always felt like, you know what, let's go to a different part of the Caribbean. So that's when they started to come to the Dominican Republic, and then coming here so often, they fell in love. They started to watch a lot of the videos, and they saw people like myself and other vloggers that were doing it and expatting it. All right. So they sell everything in Canada, and they come here, and they chose to come to Santo Domingo. That's the capital here. And so the husband was doing most of the hustling. The reason why is because he actually learned Spanish on his own when they used to come here to visit. They've been coming here to visit for like 15 years. So he would always study Spanish on his own. He went online on YouTube and learned. So once they got here, he did most of the hustling. So here they are. Now it comes down to this. They open up a little shop in Santo Domingo. Now, what they did was they would come to Sosua, Puerto Plata, Cabarete, wherever they can go, different hair shops and everything. And because they sold wholesale, they were able to sell at a really good price to the working girls and to the hairstylists and also to salons. And because the husband spoke Spanish, he was the one that would come to Sosua. Now, Sosua is where it's really hot for pay to play. But again, the wife didn't think anything of it. So now he comes here and he went into this one salon. He gets into the salon and he never saw that salon before. I'm not going to say the name of it. And he gets in there and there's this one lady in there and her hair had just gotten done, right? And she was leaving the salon, but the woman who did her hair was talking to the husband. We're going to give the husband and the wife a couple of names here. Let's call them cold and hot. We'll call the husband hot, hot, hot. All the party people feeling hot, hot, hot. You're hot. Anyway, so the husband's hot, the wife is cold. All right. And so hot, he's talking to the woman at the salon. And, so the salon woman, she finishes up with her client. She starts talking to Hot, and then he says to her, listen, I'm going to leave a couple of business cards here with you. Your code is on the back. Give these out to the ladies, and anybody that buys a wig from me or any product, any beauty product, you will get commission. And she was like, oh, wow, okay, that's great. So now she turns her back to get the change for her client, and her client grabbed one of the cards. Now, he saw the client grab one of the cards, but he didn't think anything of it, right? And then when the salon owner gave the change to that woman, the woman left. The woman's outside waiting for Hot to get out of the store. When Hot gets out of the store, she's across the street and she text messages him on his phone. Now, he looks at the text messages. He's sitting in his car. And and what it said was, hi, baby, you want to play? And he was like, what is this? And he said, who is this in the text? He thought it was a joke. And she's like, look across the street. And he looked up and he looked across the street and he looked at her and then he saw it was the same woman from the store. And then she walked towards him. So there was no need for him to answer that text. And his window's down and he looks at her and he's like, what's up? And she's like, hi. And she's like, do you want to play? And he's like, no, thank you. But are you interested in any of the wigs or any products? And she's like, yeah. Do you have any photos? And he was like, yeah, hold on a minute, right? And he went into his cell phone and he showed her what wigs he has and products. And she was like, okay, those 3 wigs right there, I want. And I know that my friends are also going to want some wigs. So just bring some wigs with you when you come. She's like, can you come next week? And he's like, yeah, no problem. And she's like, okay, how much commission are you going to give me on the wigs? And he's like, well, we'll talk about that. It depends on how many of your friends buy. Just have a bunch of girls there when I come by and we'll, get some business rolling. She said, okay. So she messaged him the next week and she's like, hi, baby, can you come down to Sosua? I'm ready to see you. And now a lot of women here, they will call men baby. They'll call men amor. It's just a thing. And so he answered and he's like, yeah, send me your address. And she's like, I have 3 ladies here. How much are you going to give me? You can see where this is headed already. And he's like, well, I have to see what's going to happen when I get there. I don't know yet. So I'll let you know how much I'll pay you when I speak to the ladies. And she's like, all right. So he comes to Sosua. He goes to her address. She buys the 3 wigs that she promised. And her friends also bought a wig each. So she got really good commission. So then, he goes back to Santo Domingo, and he has his money, and he's so happy, right? His wife doesn't think anything of it. So now, fast forward. he is out with his wife, and they are out with their friends, the friends visiting from Canada, and they're all enjoying themselves and everything. And then he gets out of the car to go into the gas station to get some treats for them because they're all going to the river. The river is a big excursion here. You go there like on Sundays and you play some music, have some drinks, have a good time. But it's always nice also to have some snacks, you know. So he went in and he got some chips and he got some nuts and he got some chocolates and everything. And he's looking forward to having such a great day with his friends that are visiting and his wife. So as he's in the store, a message comes through from the woman. And she says, "Hi, baby. So I have a few ladies here." Yes, you can tell where this is headed now, right? She's like, I have a few ladies here that are really interested in you, and you know, I told them about you. Can you be here tomorrow? You guys can hear the motorcycles in the background, maybe. And she's like, "Can you be here tomorrow?" And that was it. The wife saw it, and the wife's like, "Baby, have a few girls for you. Can you be here tomorrow?" And then the woman was like, "I want you to give me the same amount of money you gave me last time. So, or even more, so I have more ladies here now." They all want what the other ladies got last time, right? And she's talking about wigs. And the wife is looking at this, and the wife is like, "Oh my gosh, what is this?" So then, you know, the wife messaged me right away because I'm a soul coach, right? And I talk to people about relationships, the real reason why I'm talking to you guys right now. So she messaged me right away. She didn't want to freak out. She was like, "Oh my gosh," her heart was beating so quickly. And she messaged me and she's like, "Cerise, I don't know what to do," on WhatsApp. And I got back to her and I told her, like, she sent me the message. And I'm like, it just sounds like so synthetic. It just sounds so like double meaning. And I said to her, you know, don't freak out now. Go to the river, have a good time. As hard as it's going to be, don't create an argument right now. When you guys get home later, get to the bottom of it. There is an explanation for it, I'm sure. The message just sounds so double-sided, like a two-edged sword. Something like he could get out of it very easily. And she's like, no, I disagree with you. I respect you. And I know that you have experience, you know, giving people advice. But this is a woman asking my man to go to her house and give her the same amount of money as he gave her last time. And she has more ladies there. And you know this is Sosua. And I'm like, yeah, but like there's just something that doesn't sound like, you know, sexual. It just sounds like, you know, maybe he sold a product to her. And she's like, no, I would know. I would know about that. And I was like, well, maybe he didn't tell you. Maybe, you know, you just don't know about all his clients here in Sosua. And I said, do you know about every single client in Sosua? And she's like, well, I don't know about every client, but I know how much money he makes each time he comes because I'm the one that does the books. So I'm like, okay, well, there you go. If you're not listing them by their name and by their number, and you're only listing about what he sold when he came here, then you got to just cool, max, and relax for a moment. Go to your excursion. Don't freak out. And so she tried her hardest. They went to their excursion and she did not freak out. Kudos to her. Right, ladies? Come on, how hard is that? How hard and difficult would that be? To like really hold it down, you know? You see a message like that, like you just want to freak out. So, so after the river, they drop their friends off at their hotel. And then the couple is in the car and they're on the highway. And the husband says to the wife, like hot says to cold, what is wrong with you? Like, are you coming on your period? Like, is there something up with you? Because it just seems like, you know, you're mad all day. There's something not right. And she's like, you're cheating on me. And he's like, what? I'm not cheating on you. Who am I cheating on you with? And when do I have time to do that? We're together all the time. And when we're not together, I'm doing business. And she's like, you have a woman in Sosua. And he's like, oh, here we go. Here we go. He's like, how many times do I have to tell you I would not pay a woman for any type of intimacy? And she's like, well, maybe you know, decided that you want a whole bunch of women at one time. And he's like, no, I wouldn't. He's like, I would never do that. Why would I need a whole bunch of women at one time? He's like, you know, like even with you, it's hard for me to get intimate. He has ED, okay, erectile dysfunction. So it's hard for him to get it up. It's difficult for him to, you know, get the blood flowing and the stimulation happening from the brain to the anatomy. And she knows this, and it's a little bit embarrassing for him. So he said to her, if it's difficult for me to do that with you, why would I go do that with strangers? You know how embarrassing it could be. And she's like, well, you get Viagra probably, and that helps you. And then having a lot of women that are younger and beautiful and sexy probably helps you get it up. And he's like, no, that would frustrate me more. I wouldn't want a whole bunch of women sitting there waiting for me to get it up. He's like, you know what? You're so wrong. And she said, show me your phone. And he showed her the phone, and he's like, what? And he's like, here, you got my code. He throws his phone at her, and he's like, you got my code. And then he pulls over on the side of the road because he didn't want this argument to go farther. He really didn't want it to get out of control. So he pulls over on the road, and he's like, look, open my phone up. And she opens the phone, and she shows him the message. And he laughed, and he's like, give me the phone. And he took the phone back, and he's like, oh my gosh, forget it. He's like, women. And she's like, I caught you. And he's like, no. And he was about to drive off. But because he didn't explain to her, and he didn't take the moment to say, baby, you know, I love you. I understand how that message looks, but, you know, I'm going to go tomorrow, and you're going to come with me to drop off these wigs, and you're going to see what's really happening. He didn't take that pivotal moment, that very important millisecond to not necessarily to appease her, but to reassure her, to let her mind stop itself from getting out of control. You know, I always say to my clients that, you know, do this. I tell them, don't allow your brain to hatch demon eggs, you know, because we get these little bubbles of thought, and they hatch thoughts, and then you can hatch like little demon eggs, and demon thoughts come out. I got that from Tupac. You guys know Tupac, the rapper, right? And that's what happens. You know, we get ourselves into a position, into a moment, a train of thought, and we become a train crash. At that moment, him knowing her, he should have said to her, baby, listen, we didn't come all the way to the Dominican Republic to lock up shop, sell everything we had in Toronto in order for me to get with a bunch of women here. And now his thinking is, it was so ridiculous for her to think that he's going to go have an orgy that he was laughing at her, right? So I can see his position, and I can also see her position. And I'm pretty sure all of you guys listening to this can see both sides as well, right? But some of you guys may be saying, that's her husband. She should have trusted him, and she should have believed in him. But not in certain situations where you are misreading something and you know what's going on in a certain area. You know, like no one goes to a whorehouse to get kissed. You know, most people are going there to get it on, right? And in this area, when guys come, you know, they are usually coming to pay to play, but he was doing business, and so the message got kind of skewed. Now, she jumps out of the car on the highway. Now, he was about to pull off. She jumps out of the car, and she's like, I'm not going home with you. And he's like, what? Get in the car. She's like, no, you're laughing. You're not letting me see more of the phone. And he's like, you had your chance to look at the messages earlier. You want to get nosy? Now you're just looking for something. And she's like, no, I'm not just looking for something. Like, I really believe that you've done something. And he was like, okay, fine. If you want to get out the car, Then get out the car. I'm not going to beg you to stay in the car. If you can't trust me, you can't trust me. I'll see you at home. And she was like, what? And he said, get in the car then. And she was like, no. She slammed the car door. She's like, don't talk to me like that. And she slammed the car door. Now, she thought that he was going to, pull the car over, walk down the road, beg her to get back in the car. It was nighttime. They both had a little bit to drink, not too much. It's not like they were intoxicated. But, he was just like, no, I'm not. He's like, forget it. Now, on the road where he left her, they were almost home anyway, and she knew that road very well, and there's always cabs going by, and it was a very busy street. It wasn't like a dead-end highway or anything. And so he did drive down the road, and he pulled over, but she didn't see him pull over. And then when he saw her get into a taxi cab, he followed behind that taxi cab. When the taxi cab passed him, she did not see the car. She wasn't looking up. She was looking down at her cell phone, messaging him, trying to say, where are you? Why would you leave me? And all that stuff, right? Because now she's even further in her emotions. So instead of looking up and, while she's in the cab, she totally missed him on the side of the road, and he pulled out behind them and made sure that, the taxi driver took her exactly to their condo. So now when he saw her get out of the car, the taxi, and get into the condo, he went and he parked the car in the underground. Now, when he parked the car in the underground, he didn't have reception at all because it was in the underground. He went into the trunk of the car, and the trunk of their SUV, and he decided that he was going to pull out the stuff, like a couple of wigs and stuff like that he needed for the next day. Right? And make a list of things that he needed to get. So now she's upstairs in the apartment, and she's just livid. She's leaving messages for him, and you cheater, where are you now? You turned your cell phone off. And here he is doing business at the back of the car in the underground. He's like, he had it, he just isn't interested at all. But he didn't even know she was messaging him, right? So he gets into the elevator, and he goes upstairs to the apartment, and she has a couple of her clothes packed, like she's packing big time, right? Like she's trying to get out of there, and she's all heated. And then so he didn't stop her. He's like, what are you doing? What are you packing? And she's like, I'm leaving. I don't want a man that cheats on me. And he's like, all right, you're making your own decision. You're doing it on your own. You don't want to believe me. I told you can come with me tomorrow when I'm selling the things, and you can see for yourself. And she's like, no, you're going to make a lie up. And so he was like, whatever. So she didn't go with him. And he came all the way to Sosua. He sold the goods, and he wasn't going to try to prove to her that he was right. He told me afterwards, he's not a boy. He's a man. He doesn't need to prove anything to her, right? So what happened was, when he got back home, she was gone, and she took off to a hotel room, like an Airbnb, and she stayed there for about 4 days. She messaged him the second day, and he wasn't taking her calls. She messaged him the third day, and he wasn't taking her calls. The fourth day, she went to go and get in the apartment, and the locks were changed. He changed the locks. He's like, good. If you're going to stay, stay. Don't play these games with me. I'm not a boy. We came here for business, and you're acting like a little kid, and I don't want this type of jealousy. I don't want this type of unpredictable behavior. We've come too far in life for you to be behaving like this right now. And she could not understand why he was being so strict on her. And, eventually, he opened the door, because she was like, I'm not leaving this hallway. And she was crying by the door. She was banging on the door. She was bringing attention to them from other neighbors were walking by. And so finally he opened the door, and he let her in, and he saw how distraught she was. And he loves her so much. And he said, what is wrong with you? What really got into you? And she's like, how could you say no to all those beautiful women in Sosua? because the women here are very beautiful. They have beautiful hair, they have beautiful nails, they have beautiful bodies. They're like Barbie dolls, and so, it probably would be difficult for most men to not be attracted to that, especially a man that used to flirt back in the day, and a man that's a little younger than her, and she doesn't feel as good about herself any longer. She's put on some weight, her hair is thinning, she doesn't take very good care of her nails because she's always, in chemicals doing hair, and so she just felt like he gave up on her because she gave up on herself, and that was not so. They made up now. They both contacted me because she wanted to do a little bit of relationship soul coaching. She wanted to get herself back on track to where she feels comfortable with herself and she feels comfortable with him. And they came to Sosua, and he introduced her to the working girl that was buying these wigs from him. She felt so silly, and now she does believe him. But you see, this is where we have to think hard. We have to think of our relationship. We're going to see messages. We are going to see emails. We're going to see some flirting sometimes as well. And it might hurt us. But we have to make sure that we deal with those situations in a mature manner. Fighting and arguing is not going to make you look any better or even be attractive. For instance, let's say that he is cheating. Let's say that you have a man that is cheating and you find that he's cheating. And those emails and all of those messages are him talking to another woman. Like, that's really sad, but that does happen. Do you think you're crying and you're fighting and you're arguing is going to make the situation better? It's not. You got to calm down, be cool, and collected. Remind that man why it is that you are the better woman. If he is doing that and it is not in your desire to have a man treat you like that, then you have to pick yourself up and get out of that situation. Because if he is cheating on you, he's not respecting you. If he's cheating on you, chances are he is not appreciating you, and he also is going to do it again. Now, I'm not saying every man that cheats is going to cheat over and over and over again, because we do know that there are some people that fall in the trap and they feel so sorry about it and they make up for it for the rest of their relationship, the rest of their life, and they feel so bad about it. I'm not saying that everyone that cheats becomes a serial cheater, right? But what I'm saying to you is if you are in a good relationship and you know your man has never cheated, and then there comes a situation where you think he is because of a certain message, it's really important for you to sit back and think. Remember the good times. Remember the times that he has loved you. Remember his personality and his character, especially if he's a good man that you know would never cheat. And it just doesn't make sense. Chances are there's no sense behind it, so don't try to make sense of it. Sit down with him calmly, collectively. Sit down with him and don't allow your emotions to override your common sense. Use your logic, okay? Emotions are just something that we have that are just so amazing, to be honest with you. And it's so amazing because they help us to determine certain situations. Emotions are awesome. We need them. But when we abuse them because of a situation that's upsetting us, and we allow our emotions to control the situation as opposed to our logic, then we lose the fight. We lose the war. Don't lose any battle when you don't have to in life, okay? Use relationship tactics. Anything that triggers you, sit back and say to yourself, this is triggering me right now. This is making me feel uncomfortable. Don't scream. Don't yell. Don't holler. Your health is okay. Everything around you is all right. Don't make anything worse. You can cry. You can cry. Cry is a release of the emotions. Cry. Breathe in deep. Hold it. Breathe out. Do it again if you have to. Over and over again. But definitely don't scream. Definitely don't accuse. Wait and then operate. Okay? If you have to tattoo that on your brain, wait and then operate. Don't be so quick to judge. Don't be so quick to run. Don't be so quick to make things worse than what they are. Be slow to anger and be slow to respond. Think first and then move. Guys, I want to tell you that these two are getting along right now and they are working it out. And it made their relationship stronger because it made him realize that he does need to take that moment to explain in these situations now. It's very different now because she does feel uncomfortable with herself. And, you know, it doesn't mean that he needs to bend over backwards for her because she's not taking care of herself. It means that she needs to start taking care of herself the way she once did, where she felt good about herself. And she's doing that. She's getting herself back into the gym. She's also getting her nails done. She's using gloves now when she's dealing with chemicals and hair dye. And she's also making sure that she's dressing nicely again so she can feel good about herself again. And now he has made the decision to actually explain things a little bit more, not laugh at her emotions, not laugh at her reactions, not laugh at her insecurity, but actually appreciate it if she doesn't go overboard with it, and appease her in a way where he is reassuring her, you know, not begging for her, but reassuring her that, hey, babe, this is nothing. We need to get past this. You're my love. You're my queen. I'm your king. Nobody else is coming in between us. There's no pauper. There's no villager. There's nobody that's more important. It is us two, and we are going to make this work together. Guys, make sure you reassure your queen. Always. Even if she just is going off the deep end, even then, take a breather. But then when you guys are talking about it, don't blame her. And ladies, if you have a good man and he's never cheated on you and something comes up and it surprises you, you know, think before you react. That is my main advice to you. Remember, give it a few minutes. Breathe in, breathe out, and discuss it. Don't run with it and fight about it. All right, guys. So that was a little bit of a story time and a little bit of relationship tactics. I want you guys to enjoy yourself. Have a wonderful day today. Make love, not war. All right, guys. Take care. My name is Cerise Fairfax. This is my YouTube channel. I live in the Dominican Republic. If you're not subscribed yet, you can subscribe for free. That's right. And not only that, I upload videos strategically, but they seem kind of random because I talk about everything. I talk about relationships, meditation, relocation, real estate, travel, tourism. I offer people airport pickup and drop off here from my drivers. I also help people find apartments if they're coming here short-term, long-term, or relocating. Oh my gosh, I love doing relocation consultations with people who are just thinking about it or who are about to embark upon it, because people do need that seamless transition. So give me a shout. I'm your girl. I call myself a one-stop shop, and I would love to be that stop that you stop at before you come and shop. All right, guys. Huge hugs, loads of love, big blesses. Be good to yourself out there today. Mwah. Take care. Bye.